activated. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Seamless transition into episode 148 of RickCast. I am obviously Rick, and I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Nothing really exciting happened from what I can see. That's the joke. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I am ready to get after it. And I hope you are too. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. The bar rats are assembling. If you'd like to be a bar rat, there's not a complicated process. All you got to do is like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, which I just said, and then jump in the chat and let me know your thoughts on each story. This show is different than others. And I know it's going to sound crazy when I say this. The show is different from others because you power it. I don't wait for chats. I don't. If you have something interesting to say, you can actually change the course of the conversation and which way we go, because these are topics that people are interested in. These seem to be the topics that are generating people. I want to say traffic. It's such a it's the one that's generating traffic. It sounds so nerdy when I say it, but I just did. So what am I going to do? And the idea behind all of this is, you know, the idea of having conversations. Most people have their conversations, and what they do is they have a conversation. They talk to you. They talk at you. I'm not talking at you. We are talking together. This is a show for all of us, and I'm just the dummy, the conduit for the rest of you to get involved. So I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy it. So, what do we have on tap for today? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This Epstein thing is getting spicy. And I will do the mea culpa, and that's why I do not pose myself as an expert or anything else. Excuse me, I just give you my opinion on things. A lot of time they can be somewhat incorrect, not always. I thought that, and maybe it was more of the I believed in the cultish idea that Trump was going to be able to control his base enough to move it on. And to an extent, we're going to see some examples that that they're trying. They are trying desperately to move off of this Epstein X, and they're trying desperately to do it. But what has now resulted in such a thing, in this 180 on the most transparent administration in the history of administrations, we don't remember that with the binders, is that now we have a second MAGA civil war infighting in as many months. It's funny when Trump is doing the things that the base elected him to do, nobody has a problem with Trump because you get the hashtags, this is what I voted for, and all the other fun things. And for the most part, even if you don't like Trump, you can at least say, yeah, he's doing it. So you can't get mad at him about that. So there's the idea of you actually doing what your base wants, and your base is pretty okay with it. When you start deviating from it, and then you send your little minions out to try and force the public to change 180 degrees. Crowder was famous for this. There's a video on one of the pages on Rumble, on YouTube, on Parlor, where I break down the fact that Steven Crowder lit whatever credibility he had in the conservative sphere on fire by essentially going after Tucker Carlson. Now, I'm not saying Tucker Carlson's right on everything, but Tucker Carlson's at least respected enough. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Andrew Tate interview. No, all cards on the table. But then again, like we'll talk about in Voice of Reason segment, nobody's perfect. But Tucker has enough integrity, and he has enough conservative bona fides is the word, to hold on to the group of people that it just, you can't attack Tucker Carlson. You can't. And Crowder and those guys went straight after him, and it feels like they were under orders to do so because somebody put a battery in their back and they just went right after him. I mean, Candace Owens, everybody goes after Kansas. She loves it because it just makes more people watch her videos. So she's like, go ahead and do it. So, love or hate Candace Oden, you got to respect the game. She knows how to play the game better than any of us. She is a master of said game. And then Ian Carroll and a bunch of other people, Dave Smith, really setting the table for infighting within the base. They did not have to do the infighting, right? Crowder and these guys, and once MAGA lined up with Mark Levin, and once we covered it on this show, once Mark Levin became a part of the National Security Council, MAGA was in for a different, was in for a change in direction, at least in that regard. And so it's interesting to see. We were just, and the reason why the Israel Iran thing didn't really snowball the way this is happening. And I think Trump was counting on, well, no way, there'll be a little bit of outreach, but it'll go away. Kind of, because the Iran one went away. Why did the Iran one go away? Because Iran didn't do anything yet. I still am of the position that Iran will do something at some point. And they will cite June of this year as a reason and justification to do so. Because if the Israelis are still citing October of last year, why can't the Israelis cite June of this year for whatever attack whenever they want to do it? But that one went away. And I think that gave Trump and his team a false sense of security that, hey, we can do this kind of stuff and eventually we'll win over the base. The base will get over it because Trump will come out and demand essentially to do it. Don't forget, and I talked about it on this show when it happened, when Trump makes the phrase, I am MAGA, and you had conservative influencers under his thumb repeating this, I am MAGA, I get to decide what MAGA is. That is bad news, man, for all of you MAGAs out there. Yeah, I voted for the guy 3 times, but I wouldn't call myself MAGA. I'm Catholic. Okay, I am a Catholic. That is what my viewpoint is. Some people want to make the two. Oh, you can be Catholic and MAGA. You can make that argument and you can do those pretzels. I'm not doing that kind of thing. But the fact is, when your guy, the Trumpster, decides to say, I am MAGA, I can tell you what is and is not, you get Iran. You get shut up about Epstein. We're moving on. And they're trying to do all kinds of other things. Guys in the chat rooms are talking about different things that are going on. I know Michael Thomas is in there saying, like, hey, Trump is just hoping that pre-X, pre-Twitter, you could wait out a storm like that. It's a classic PR strategy. Just wait out the storm. This one's not waiting out. And I think it's only going to get worse. And the moves that Trump's team made last week, which we covered, and then made this week, shows they're panicking because it's not going away. Whether you think Epstein is an important story or not, whether you do or don't, it's not going away. And I think the Trump team is learning in real time that that's the case. Second story that we're going to talk about, and I think there's a reason why most of you might be stopping by the program for the first time. By the way, this is RickCast. We do live shows Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Central Time. And if it's not live, I'll have a show up for it and ready to go. So I try to bring these shows to you guys because it's my obligation. I started this, and we have a really good group of bar rats that really have intelligent, high-end conversations, and I do it because they're my I hate it. It sounds so corny, but I'll say they're my friends. The people in the chat right now, the people that are talking this stuff back and forth, these people are my friends. They've been here. Why? Why can I say that? They're here every night. They're hanging out. They're here. They're supportive. They're supportive of each other. It's great. So, second one, and this is the one that not many people will like me for, but I don't really care. And that is Voice of Reason and Catholic Inc. So the idea is that a prominent Catholic influencer, which TDLR, too long, or TLDR, too long don't read, I don't think Catholic influencers should exist. I don't. That's going to be the crux of my statement when I talk about Voice of Reason. And I'm actually not even going to talk about him that much. If you're not going to be sticking around, let me tell you, the issues that Voice of Reason has, that's between him and his priest. We are Catholic. We believe in forgiveness. We believe in redemption. I believe that he is capable of all of those things. He is and his situation is a symptom of a really bad subspace within Catholic media and Catholic circles that nobody wants to address because everybody's kind of just looking at it one way or another. And so I will talk about the fact that it is disappointing, but that his situation is a result of the fame that people can get. And once again, let's just dive into it because I know nobody's going to like who aren't qualified to do it. They're just not qualified. I'm not qualified. I never say on this show that this is a Catholic show. This is a show about the news of the day that I happen to be a Catholic about. When I'm doing firearms training as the armed Catholic, I am not doing it off of Catholic. I'm not claiming to be a theologian. I'm coming from the place of a firearms instructor, a trained and very good firearms instructor, and then I infuse my Catholicism into it. The book, The Armed Catholic, which, like it or not, I had it read by one of the smartest men in Catholic academia. I had him read it to make sure that I wasn't leading people down the stray, and he gave me the thumbs up on it. So I don't take that lightly, and I think Catholic Inc. takes it too lightly. I think they take it too lightly that they are able to, as the gym coach motto, they just roll out the basketballs and see what happens. They're going to roll out a couple passages of scripture and then they're going to expound on that. And that's going to be somehow justifiable in what they do. I don't, and that's the problem. The man who gave me, whether you like him or don't, and whatever you think of him, Mike Church, I do thank him for giving me the opportunity to get into this space. Now, you may not like him because I'm in this space. That might be a different story. But Mike is a veteran. Mike earned his way into his spot. He hit the producer board. He worked the weekends. He did the right things. And Mike's biggest problem with YouTube always was the barrier to entry. Its greatest strength is its greatest weakness. And that is, you can get a camera, you can get a microphone, and you can just start talking. And if you have enough controversy, which it's all based on controversy, then you can be quote unquote famous. You can be famous. Yeah. And once again, Mike Church is a master at the spoken word on radio. He's brilliant. A lot of us, myself included, are not. We're barely hanging on. And the fact is, Catholic Inc. has allowed people, and this is not a slight against them, to achieve a level of fame using the word of God that I am not a big fan of. And so that's why I've always had a problem with Catholic Inc. Catholic Inc. has always had a problem with me because of this feeling. Because I've always kind of looked at them like, should you really be talking about this? Most of them made their name bashing Francis, and a lot of them are continuing the trend with Leo. They'll give you a thumbnail that's like, theologian makes blah, 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 Leo, or the whole thing. Catholic, and I know I'm going all over the place, so forgive me. Catholic Inc. is the reason Bishop Strickland got stripped of his position. I'm going to say that I'm not representing His Excellency in any way, shape, or form, but if Catholic Inc. wasn't desperate to get him on their shows His Excellency is welcome to have any opinion he has on anybody. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but to amplify it it put his excellency in a position. I think Catholic Inc. did him a disservice, and I believe that it is what it is in that regard. So obviously, I have a lot to say in that regard. And it's not. I don't really. I don't even, like I said, when it comes to Voice of Reason, the dude just got swept up. He got swept up, and he's in a place where um, temptation took over. And so, yeah, let's and with that whole situation, that's between him and his confessor. I think he's more than capable of getting redeemed and so forth. Anyway, and then I'll talk about Superman because that's just completely wildly off topic. It's completely wildly off topic in that regard. And we'll go for something else on that range. But as I said, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, do all the fun things that you can do in order to help the show grow. I don't think we need a lot of time for a warm up because I've been babbling for about 15 minutes. That was kind of my warm up act. So let's get into our first story of the night, which is Civil War 2.0. Civil War 2.0. Now, Miss Mendez, I will explain the teams and all that other kind of stuff when we get to Voice of Reason. I love the fact that you don't have any idea what I'm talking about. I think that's kind of the point that we all wish we could be in. So let's talk about this. The fallout from the Epstein list. And this headline says it all. This is Trump says Civil War 2.0. Any months. In June, it was about Iran. That was the first crack in the fissure. And people like myself who did not like the Israeli government, and this is not me being like, the Jews, but the Israeli government forcing American foreign policy, which they did. They launched the attack, and then they did it knowing that they needed to have the U.S. come in and do all these other kinds of things. And it just was a bad situation that hasn't resolved itself. Now, the Iran situation apparently looks like it's fine because as of right now, it is resolved. Nothing has happened. Everybody's okay, right? We bombed Iran. Iran shot 6 missiles and everything kind of just went along as it's going along. Doesn't mean that the book is closed. Now, MAGA is acting like it is. I don't think it is. You could say that's just because I guess I'm a panicking, but I'm really just worried about being dragged into one of these things. And a lot of us just didn't like the fact that this was an escalation of conflict. Now, a lot of people will come back at me and say, Rich, we're just dropping bombs on people. It's not a big deal. Which is the most American thing to say. We're just dropping bombs on a bunch of brown people in the Middle East, Rick. This isn't a war. What are you talking about? Okay, I got you. Perfect. But now we're at the Epstein list. And the fallout from an unsigned, undated document that was dropped on a Sunday, which Cal Seraphin was on Timcast earlier today talking about this. We talked about this last week. We said, hey, it looks like they dropped this Epstein memo while the country was worried about the flooding in Texas to see if it would fly under the radar and we could kind of just put this thing to bed. It didn't fly under the radar. It was picked up by people who were visibly angry about this. And now it's been over a week and Trump did this Trump went from zinger Trump to boomer Trump this weekend. What do I mean? I'm not going to show you, but he did like a 4-page Truth Social post about why we just need to get over it and move on from the Epstein list, which somebody needed to tell him that is the wrong move to make. It is the wrong move to make. So it's President Donald Trump versus MAGA. And remember, President Trump said, I am MAGA. I am America first. And then you have people backing up. Yep, he's America first. It's his Laura Loomer. He created it. He can do what he wants. When you give carte blanche to that, if that's the word, I'm just messing up words tonight. So beat me up in the comment section if you're like, Rick, you're an idiot, because I am. But when you give Trump a blank check like that and you say, well, I mean, he did create it. He did create MAGA, so he can define it however he pleases. Yeah, that's not going to work. In the days since the Trump administration released a memo about Jeffrey Epstein directly at odds with conspiracy theorists, the whole thing with the conspiracy theorists is Trump and his team acknowledge these things. We played the video last week. Trump and his team ran on the list. Kash Patel went on any podcast that would have him talking about how there's a black book with lists in it. It's also the same guy who said we shut down the FBI day one. Right? Dan Bongino didn't specifically say there was a list, but he would always say, guys, I heard things. I've heard things. I know things. Trump multiple times acknowledged Epstein Island, Epstein list, Epstein this, Epstein that. So when CNN says conspiracy theories pushed by the president and some of his top lieutenants, Trump's movement and most ardent supporters are in revolt. Let me just cut to this. It's a couple minutes long, but I think it's absolutely important. Take a listen.
We go to Travis in South Dakota. Hello, Travis.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Jason. I tell you what, guys, I feel really betrayed, and I feel really, really angry. We have a president who tells us to move on from Epstein because it doesn't matter. Are you guys still talking about this? Seriously? And yet he still talks about the 2020 election fraud. He talks about the Hunter Biden laptop. He talks about all this stuff from 5-6 years ago, and he tells us to move on from the Epstein trial or the Epstein case. People like me will not stop talking about this. I feel so betrayed and so angry. This is not what I voted for. If we do not stand up for the children of this country, we have nothing. We have absolutely nothing. And I tell you what, I've also lost a lot of respect for a lot of people that are prominent figures in this country because they are saying, you know what, this doesn't matter. Like Carrie Lake came out on Saturday. She's like, you know what really matters is election fraud and post-election fraud. It's like, you know what, the children of this country really, really matter. How can we just sweep them under the rug and not care? Move on, America. Move on.
Travis, thank you for calling. Let me ask you, is there anything that could be said that would make you go, okay, that's as good as it's going to get for here?
I want transparency and I want justice. All them children, all those families, everything they went through, I don't want to know their names. I pray that God would be with them and give them some sort of peace if they could ever get it. I want transparency and I want justice.
Is there anything that anyone could produce to show you and have you go, okay, Epstein is dead, Gladwell is in prison, and that's the only justice you're going to be able to get?
I want evidence. Quit telling us that, oh, well, he killed himself and we saw everything. We have the information. By the way, it doesn't exist. Show us the information. Make me believe. Help me believe that he killed himself. Help me believe that maybe you don't have any evidence against people. Then show us that stuff. I do not trust the government at all, and yet they expect me to take their word for it. I'm sorry, you lost your credibility a long time ago, government. You need to start gaining the trust of these American people back. And I really hope and pray that they can at least provide some sort of evidence.
How do you prove the negative, Travis? See, that's where I'm at. I think I'm right where you are. I'm beyond. I don't have a horse in this race. What I have is common sense. And what I have is maybe a bunch of people hyping this up for a very long time, But then I need somebody to say, hey, these people were hyping this for this reason, and here, let me show you how that was done. I want to believe. I want to believe in the good. So help me. But I don't know how you prove a negative. How do you prove there is no evidence?
I absolutely agree. If all these people like me are all upset about this Epstein client list and it's all been for naught all these years, then help me believe that, you know what, you've been wrong this entire time, and actually there's some really good things out there. And if it's the opposite, show us that evidence too. Right now, all we have to go on is the word and trust of the United States government, and they don't tell us anything. So this is what we found, and the documents we're going to give you are going to be, mostly redacted, but the information's there. We just can't show it to you. You got to help us out a little bit. There's a lot of good in this country, but you got to help us out a little bit.
Travis, I don't think anyone could have said it better than that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, all right. I'm still working on this thing, so I messed that up. I'm back. Can you understand? I wasn't muted. I'm here. I'm back, guys. Hello. I'm not muted. I'm not muted. See, what I did is there's some buttons that I hit. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. So the whole thing is I'm not muted. I'm not muted at all. I'm back. And I'm speaking clearly to you all right about now. And the whole thing is absolutely nuts. And I'm not muted, guys. I shouldn't be muted at this point. No, I shouldn't be muted, guys. You should be able to hear me 100%. I'm not crying. Lou can hear me. So I should be able to hear. No, I'm not crying. I'm not Glenn Beck. There's a bunch of buttons. This is Restream, so I'm still learning Restream. And I did this crazy thing. There's a button here that said get rid of camera, and I thought it only meant for that. And no, it didn't. So here we go. Can you understand the frustration in that guy's voice? Can you hear? He is one of thousands. He is one of thousands of thousands of thousands of people that put their trust in Trump. They wanted to believe in Trump. GPAT, that's a little ridiculous. That's a little ridiculous, I'm going to have to say. There are so many people that believed in Trump being a disruptor. And it looks like he's just the same. And they're still trying to run this playbook, guys. Yeah, that was a total error on my part. That was user error. No, we're good. We're back. That was an absolute I'm trying to think, an airball, an absolute mistake on the part of the Trump administration to think that they could get away with it. And they still think they can get away with it. They still do. They're running Charlie Kirk out today.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
Not the right answer. That is not the right answer, guys. Everybody wants this. Not everybody, but enough people who have put their trust in Trump and the administration for 10 years since he came down the escalator. This is the ultimate betrayal. It's the ultimate betrayal. And it really centers on this chick right here. It's all about Pam Bondi, right? There was the argument between Bongino and Bondi, and there was talks about, oh, well, she's going to leave over the weekend, and he's going to leave, and all this other kind of stuff. Trump has doubled down. Okay, he sent this post over the weekend. What's going on with my boys, and in some case gals? They're going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We are one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. And I did not think this was going to be this way. I thought Trump was going to be smart enough, but I guess not. I thought Trump was going to be smart enough to be like, Pam, you gotta go. Pam, you're killing me. You're sinking the entire agenda. But nope, he's going to double down. He is going to let the ship sink with Pam Bondi. That is incredible. That, I guess Trump does have a type. I guess Trump does have a type because he is willing to sink the ship for her. And it's amazing to think that. It is amazing to see President Trump in a spot where he is willing to destroy everything. Because that's really what it is, guys. That's really what it is. It's so bad. Look at this. Well, Laura Trump now says the Trump administration is going to release more on the Epstein files. I thought Trump said he was done with this and it was a waste of time. I thought nothing was there. And it's the it's the back and forth between Trump saying don't worry about it, Charlie Kirk saying shut up about it, everybody else saying don't worry about it. And then they say, oh, we talked about this last week when that post-millennial dropped the story where the DOJ is still reviewing Epstein cases. Here's the thing. I was on this program, and I don't mind mea culpa saying that she's got to go. She's got to lay down on the sword, but she is not going to do it. She's not going to do it. This is a problem, by the way. I don't have my misogyny alert, but I need to bring it over from StreamYard. So what happens when you put women in positions of power? You put women in positions of power, and this is the stuff that happens. These are the things that happen. I know it's not a fun thing to say. I know some of you don't think that's right, but she is not going to let that go. She is not going to let that position go. She's going to have to be fired by it. And let me say this. I think Trump is too much of a coward to do it. I think Trump is too much of a coward to fire Pam Bondi. If he was the real alpha male that we all think he is, he would have fired her over the weekend. He would have been like, you botched it. You're done. Maybe because he doesn't think he can find somebody he trusts to be the attorney general. We know for a fact Trump is about loyalty. If you're one of his people, you're going to be fine. That is going to drive his entire administration off a cliff. All right, a very eventful first segment. Sorry about that. Here on RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help keep the conversation going, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I appreciate you guys being patient with me as I messed up the entire StreamYard and didn't know what I was doing. So thank you. Thank you for being patient with me on that. Secondly, let's see. We have Catholic Jedi saying, I still think they're covering this to protect politicians who are there. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Some people are trying to come out with the idea that, guys, the names on the list are so explosive. It could take down companies and nations. The American people, who, by the way, are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck right now through all this winning, the American people, the people of this union, don't care about the ramifications on millionaires and billionaires and the powerful and like leaders in the Middle East or whatever the case may be. They want the stupid list. They want, really, the reveal of the Epstein list is to show that the country is in control of the voters. Right? It's in control of the voters, and the voters voted for Epstein's client list to be released, and that's what they want, and that's what they feel they deserve. I don't see why they don't feel like they shouldn't. Anyway, but keep it going in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Michael Thomas, higher GDP is not a nation. Yeah, that's one of those things about the last 20 years. You know, the GOP has been good for nothing. The culture of this union has disintegrated. The numbers, right? The idea of the family has disintegrated. All these things have disintegrated, but the GOP has said, "Hey, graph go up. As long as graph go up, then we're good." And of course, turning these United States into an economic zone has been their entire point, really, because the rich will get rich and the rest of us will feel the absolute ramifications, as Lou is talking about here. And then finally, I don't want Fauci persecuted because that would make the medical field look bad and collapse. That's right. That's the same type of thinking. Oh, well, we don't want to prosecute Fauci because then you won't trust other government officials. You do it so you do. You do prosecute Fauci so you do trust future government officials. Anybody associated to this who all thought they were going to be able to glide to the nomination in 2028, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, any of those guys, they're all tied to this, and they're all tied to Pam Bondi and her absolute flubbing of this case. It's just what it is. Oh, Charlie Kirk is terrible to Catholics. He is terrible to Catholics. But then again, most of the people in the conservative space are. They pay lip service to us, so we vote for them. And then as soon as it's done, they go back to smacking us around because it's all evangelical, waspy Protestants. Now, that's not all of you. I do love my evangelical brothers and sisters that I know. You guys are pretty good. And so it's but the elites, you know, the bureaucracy, the bourgeoisie, that's that group. White Anglo-Saxon Protestants. That's what WASPs are. And they sting like hell too. Anyway, let's get to our second story of the night. The one that I'm sure most of you guys are here to talk about, or, you know, explore or take a look at, or whatever the case may be. And that is the entire situation around this gentleman named Voice of Reason. So let's take a look. I gotta make sure this is all set up right. And it kind of just dropped out of nowhere. So a Catholic influencer, Alex Jardo. Sorry, Alex, if you ever watched my show, you know I can't say last name, so it's not against you. Also known as Voice of Reason, has had his page removed from Catholic Answers after accusations surfaced that he was making inappropriate text messages with multiple young women, including an alleged 14-year-old. Jadaro recently implied that Nick Fuentes was among those who publicly profess to be Catholic, but don't actually adhere to the faith. Now, whatever. Nick Fuentes is Nick Fuentes. Voice of Reason is popular on Instagram. He's more popular on TikTok. He is a person that has accumulated a large number of followings, and TikTok and Instagram are really good for getting these kinds of instant fame because you can have a nice camera, you can have 30 seconds of a soundbite, and boom, now you are a person to be trusted with matters of theological importance. And the whole problem with Catholic Inc. And once again, I really don't care. They can make fun of me. They already talk bad about me in their chats and stuff like that. I know this for a fact. They don't think I know, but I know. They talk poorly about me. They don't like me. It's fine. I get it. I'm not saying they hate me because that would be a sin. They just don't like me. And guess what? Catholics cannot like each other. We can't hate each other, but we can definitely not prefer the company of others. We have to pray for everybody, those we like and those we don't like. But I don't think Catholic Inc. should exist. Let me talk to you about Voice of Reason. Voice of Reason, text messages dropped that he was making some really raunchy comments to multiple women. And he's on a, he bases his stuff on being a Catholic, I don't know, influencer, talking about matters of the faith and so forth. I don't really, only time I ever see his stuff is when they come up in my reels. I'm on Instagram, so I'm an old man. Catholic Inc. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. So Catholic Inc. is the network of loosely connected network of YouTube shows. Now, my mentioning of these shows is not an endorsement or a negative of those shows, but think of, I can't believe I just blanked out on his name. I can't believe I just forgot all these guys. You'll know them if you see them. Tim Gordon is one. Avoiding Babylon is another one. I can't believe I don't follow a lot of these guys, so I don't have a lot of things to say about them. Those are just two that I know of that they speak on matters of the faith. I'm really Tim Gordon is one of those. The guys at Avoiding Babylon are those, and they can say we're not, but if you have, I think, I don't know, last time they had like 30,000 followers, which is good for them. If you have that many, you are influencing people. You are an influencer. So whether you want to call yourself one or not, you are one. There's a bunch of other ones, and the idea is that they're all loosely connected, and I don't really think they should exist. Common response, somebody will say to me, Rick, you're jealous. You're jealous because they have followers and they have views and you don't. You can make that statement. I'm not going to validate that with the whatever you want to say in that regard, but I don't believe it's jealousy. I was never a fan of any of them. Really, let's just be honest. All of them are chasing Taylor Marshall, right? Taylor Marshall's the OG in the space. The only reason you can't give Taylor Marshall any nonsense is the guy studied at the University of Dallas, which is one of the best Catholic schools. It's like top 20 in the United States. The guy knows what he's talking about when he talks about stuff. And a lot of people in Catholic Inc., this is not directed at any specific show. This is not directed at any specific person. I know people are going to think that I am, but I'm not. A lot of people, they don't have a lot of training. They may have read a book, but a lot of them are kind of just spitting stuff out there with very minimal, I guess I'll use the word training again. So Voice of Reason leaked these things. He's in a group with like religious hippie. I know A Mendez is like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Just buckle up. She's in a group. Voice of Reason's in the group with like Leela Rose and religious hippie and a bunch of those people. They kind of travel in cliques. They all have cliques, right? They all have people they hang out with, and that's fine. That's how the things go. The level of notoriety that a lot of these people get is scary because there's no barrier to entry. There's none. You could even say somebody like Nick Fuentes. He's not a part of Con Inc. or Catholic Inc., but he's one of, he's a very influential person that claims to be Catholic, and he speaks on matters of the faith too. So it is what it is in that regard. And the worrying thing to me, and it's always been a worrying thing, and when you have enough people telling you how great you are, and they do with subs and likes and comments and these things, telling you all of these other kinds of things, it's dangerous because of pride and because of vanity. It's dangerous because then it makes you think, hey, I am special. I deserve things. Once again, I'll have to say this throughout this. I am not pointing this at any specific person or any specific show. I just know, observing from the sidelines when I was at the Crusade channel, and I'm not mentioning, Mike's not one of these, but I noticed interactions and I noticed things from different places. Once again, second time, the Crusade channel is not associated with this. But when I worked there, it gave me a vantage point to see things. You notice how people, when they become, and especially men, positions of authority for something that's not really earned. That's why you can say Marshall's earned it. He's got the credentials, and I'm not a big credentialer, but if you're going to speak in the space, you got to kind of know what you're talking about. He does. You can say whatever you want to me. He does. But when we're kind of just talking off the cuff, I'd even say Mike Church, when he speaks on it, Mike never speaks about something unless he's fully backed with facts and all the, and plus he's got brother Andre Marie to rely on. So I'm good on that kind of stuff. So I mean that's why, he is the King Dude. That nickname sticks for him. But men, when they get power, influence, and their pride is fanned. Oh, you guys do this, you guys do that, you guys are so amazing, you guys are the best show, blah, 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 whatever. They all hear it. You start to think you may be above. And the idea is this girl, Religious Hippie, who has hundreds of thousands of followers on all these platforms, she apparently knew what Voice of Reason was doing. Right? She knew. They all know these things. These guys know these things in these circles. I can tell you things. I will never do so because it's not my place, and I will never scandalize anybody because guess what? This dude right here behind this little microphone, not even close to being the definition of a good man. I am in no place to judge anybody. So my thoughts on Voice of Reason are, it's between him and his confessor. I hope he redeems himself, and I hope he finds a way to focus whatever talents he has on the word, and trying to make it for God's kingdom. What I'm trying to say is you'll find a lot of guys who are in Catholic Inc. that want to be celebrities. They want to be celebrities. They want to be known. They want to be adored. I know it's not fun to say. And let's be real. Let's put all the cards on the table. Would I like to have 10,000 subs? Sure. Would I like to have all that kind of stuff? Sure. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? So let me not sit here and try to be pious to you because I'm in no position to be pious. But Matt Fradd is another one of Catholic Inc. You guys are mentioning Matt Fradd. He's another one. I really feel the only people that are, and this, let me tell you this, the only people that should really be speaking, the Catholic Church, which has done a terrible job of this, by the way, outside of Father Mike Schmidt, who I think everybody can agree, Father Mike Schmidt has saved more souls than anybody in Catholic Inc. But the idea is that the Catholic Church should have been training, and that's, I mean, they didn't change their website until Pope Leo came around. The Catholic Church should have been training priests to fill and flood these spaces. Catholic Inc. exists because they didn't. Catholic Inc. exists. Voice of Reason, Religious Hippie, Tim Gordon, all these guys exist because the Catholic Church didn't step up and fill this demand. I'm just mentioning Tim Gordon's the only one I know. And you know why? Because I saw him on Timcast 3 weeks ago defending the faith against the Orthodox, which I think he did a really good job on, by the way. So people are going to be like, oh, you have an axe to grind with Tim Gordon. No, I don't care about any of these people. I don't listen to Catholic Inc. I don't. I watch, you know where I get my Catholic stuff? I get it from Sensus Fidelium. That's where I get it from. If I'm looking for a religious answer, I got a couple numbers I can call, and I go to Sensus Fidelium. I don't go to any of these other places. But yeah, you know, Catholic Jedi, I think that's a really good point, and that's a lot of humility for you to say that. Because we have micro celebrities now. And these micro celebrities, celebrity, fame is fame, right? Whether you were and we used to have it in the small towns, whether you were the quarterback in the small town that everybody adored, fame is fame. Vanity is vanity. Pride is pride. And so it's not a great thing that it's there. And it happens that voice of reason, you know, being a young man. I think somebody said he's 21 years old. I don't even know that. I don't even know how old he is. He's a young man, and he is being flushed with praise in these kinds of things. So, of course, and this is not a jab at him, this is human nature. You tend to think, oh, well, I deserve special privileges. I deserve this. I deserve that. And when you're coming from the space of trying to be a Catholic influencer, when you're trying to do it and preach about the Bible and about Catholic moral teachings, it's a dangerous bet to make. It's a dangerous place to be. Because as, you know, evangelicals and others on other social media platforms have done, they've run with the voice of reason stuff, and they're like, look at the Catholic guys. Look at what the Catholic guys do. This is all of them. This is all of them. Your mistake reflects on our Lord and Savior. And guess what? Guess what? I am a terrible dude on Twitter. I am too blunt. I am a jerk. I am not a nice guy. It's just who I am. Right? I am, you know, I'm a curmudgeon. If there was a picture of him in the dictionary, be this face right there. I don't represent our Lord and Savior on social media well enough. And so that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say Voice of Reason's a bad guy or any of these other things. He's fallen. He made a mistake. I think when you become an influencer and when you become a celebrity, these things are presented to you. And I don't really know how we handle it. And there's a reason why we have priests or, you know, people that go to places, to schools to get this kind of knowledge so they can teach on it. That's where our source is. Now, once again, I am saying the Catholic Church has absolutely messed this up because they did not say these platforms, there's a need and a desire to have priests on them. There's a lot of good priests on social media as well. Let's not get it wrong. I'm going to mess them up. So I don't even, you know, I'm bad with names, but I try to follow all the priests I can on social media. I try to fill it up with them. And so, yes, that is another thing. Being given a microphone and fame, which you can get on Instagram or TikTok pretty easily if you don't look like this. is dangerous. And there's no required training in order to do it. Now, I'm not saying you have to train with the church in order to go on TikTok or go on YouTube and be a Catholic apologist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the laity needs to be careful with getting their spiritual guidance from other members of the laity. It's a dangerous thing. And it's caused a lot of division, I believe. And so voice of reason is just a symptom of the cause, if that's right. He's just a byproduct of the system that exists. I'll say it for the third time. I really hope he takes this situation, finds his favorite, finds a good priest, has a great confession, a great act of contrition, and can be a better man from it. Right? I hope so. I pray so. Our Lord and Savior says we must give him that due and that respect. But there's a lot of people, man, that desire fame. There's a lot of people that want to be known. I'm just saying there might be some in the Catholic sphere that you may be listening to, and I hope it doesn't happen to them. I hope it doesn't happen to me. But when I look at this as somebody who's standing on the outside, it's real dangerous for that, right? It's real dangerous for this whole thing. And we're seeing the effects of it right now. And once again, I promised it on X in case you're coming in. What are you not going to hear from Catholic Inc? I don't think Catholic Inc should exist. I don't think they should. It's going to be, that's not going to be a popular opinion. You're going to hear a lot of guys on podcasts and stuff in the next week in response to this. The other one is Wretched Saint. If you've ever heard of him on Instagram or X or Twitter or TikTok, whatever. His name is Wretched Saint. He's the other one that's being floated about. So, and I hope both of them, because what the two of them have done is engage in some sinful behavior. They've done some bad stuff. It's not stuff you can't come back from. It's not stuff that you can't make a good act of contrition, make a good penance, make a good and learn from. It's not great behavior, but they're young guys who are being given the keys to fame and access and all these other kinds of things. Fame is the devil's best weapon. Fame. Back in the day when I used to watch these movies, what is it? The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino. They go through the entire movie, and spoiler, you can't watch it because it's a terrible movie. It's Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. He stops the devil's plan, and it resets back to the beginning of the movie. And then somebody, essentially somebody approaches Keanu Reeves and said, "Hey, you just won your case, and you just did this great thing. Can I interview him?" And Keanu Reeves goes, "Yeah, you can interview me." And then that reporter morphs back into Al Pacino, who's the devil in the movie, and says, "Vanity, my favorite sin." And it's the easiest one, guys. It's the easiest one. So I know if anybody's even watching this, they'll say Rick hates Catholic Inc. and blah, 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 because he doesn't want us here because he's not famous and blah. I don't care. I don't think the kingdom is advanced with Catholic Inc. I don't. I can be wrong. And the thousands of people that subscribe to their shows and like their stuff, you prove me wrong by doing it. That's just my opinion, right? The Devil's Advocate's a great movie. I watched it before I was an actual good Catholic. I would not recommend it for any Catholic out there. Yeah, see, you guys he resets it to vanity because he wins the case, And then he goes up to Keanu in the hallway and he's like, "Oh, sir, you did a great job at your like 20th victory or whatever. I'd like to talk to you for an interview at the Times or something like that." And Keanu's like, "Yeah, of course." And then he's like, "Vanity, man." He goes back into the same cycle because he didn't, because he still accepted sin for that. So there's that. I don't know. Let me know if any of this made sense or if it was just a stupid ramble. If it was just a stupid ramble, I apologize. I'm trying to come at it just from a point of view that the whole point of Catholic Inc. I've never been comfortable with it. I don't think I ever will be comfortable with it. I don't think I ever will be comfortable with it. All right, let's move on to our last story of the day. There's no transition on this. It's just a hard transition. We're just going to transition right out of it. Last story of the day, we're talking about Superman box office. That's Lilo and Stitch, which is still there. It's only like 6 million away from $1 billion. So Superman soars to 122. It's actually 125 domestic debut. So I reviewed it. You can see it on my cast reviews if you'd like. And I thought it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't indifferent. Lots of people in the YouTuber review community hate that film. Hate that. They can't stand it. But it looks like it's performed okay. And so it's now we are off to the fact of how will it do going forward? How will it have legs? The verdict is in on Cinema Score. And guys, other films that got an A minus, The Ballerina, Accountant 2, Karate Kid, Legends. A minus is okay. You really want an A or an A plus. That's what you want for really good legs. But, it made 122 on 3 days. Friday 61, 56, Saturday 37, Sunday 28. The premium formats accounted for 47% of business, including strong results from Dolby Cinema, the premium large formats, and motion seating. IMAX in particular bought almost 20 million domestically. So the idea here is that it's got an A minus cinema score. Metacritic has it at a decent score as well, a little over 7 out of 10. 68, but that's with critics. If you're looking at the cinema, the actual favorability than the actual score that the critics give it. So what we're seeing at this point is a great opening, great, strong weekend. However, what we are going to be looking at is next week. What we're going to be looking at next week is the hold. It's got to have less than a 50% hold in order for it to have any type of legs. It may, but it really just touched the higher end of the expectations. The high end of the expectations was 125. It just touched that. So we'll see how that goes. So right now, Superman came out pretty decent, actually very good, over 100 million. One of the better openings of the year. There's so much hype around this film that anything less than like a $200 million opening, people were going to be disappointed in. 100 million is a good opening. Now they're going to look and see what the hold is next week. How well will it hold? If it holds well, it has an opportunity to make 700, 800 million. If it doesn't, then 500, 600 million is not going to be a good look. Jurassic World Rebirth had a 57% drop to 40 million. So right now it's looking okay as far as totals, but the entire idea, this was this weekend. Let me see this weekend. Right, it was a 56% drop. A 56% drop, sitting at 232 million totally. Not awesome. F1, which if you still haven't seen it, it's probably a movie. It's the best movie I've seen all year. It's the movie that I would recommend you go see. Solid hold, 46%. It's right on. I said I'd like to see it at 14 million. Came in $1 million under that, but that's under 50% for that hold. That is fantastic. That's 136 million domestically. Globally, it's at 393. It has a crack at about 500, I think, with this kind of numbers, but it's looking pretty decent. How to Train Your Dragon, that dropped another 30%. That's kind of stalled out at 239 million domestically, 560 gross for the global, for the world. Essentially, it's probably going to sit at that that 600 mark, and then the rest of them continue to drop. Lilo and Stitch, they're gonna drag that movie over $1 billion. It's 6 million away. It'll do that by August, so they'll have Disney will at least have $1 billion film there. So good weekend, not a bad weekend number from Superman. Kind of like the movie, not great, not terrible. But let's see how people talk about it. Let's see if there's walk up repeat business. Because that's how these movies make their money. People go see them 2, 3, 4 times. Like the first Avengers movie way back when. I saw that like 3 times in theaters. And so that's what they need. They need people going back to see this movie over and bringing friends and going to see it again. It's got to have somewhere the lowest, the worst drop it can have is about 52. It's got to stay somewhere in the low 50s to have legs. If it doesn't have legs, then I thought it was a pretty decent film. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. So we'll see how it goes. Who made The Champ? I haven't even what's The Champ? I never even heard of it. Who did that? So The Champ is a good one. I've never heard of it. Doesn't mean anything. Just means I haven't heard of it. Just rent on Prime and cook. Yeah. So that's the box office report there. Not too bad, not too great. We'll see how it goes next weekend. The numbers are in. Numbers are good. Superman topped off right at the top line where it needed to be. And then after that, we'll see how it does the following weekend. All right. That's it for this episode of RickCast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Monday. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. Helps with the show. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.